All right, back with another top 10 list. This is the top 10 worst starting quarterbacks. So you have to be a quarterback that I think is the best quarterback on your roster, but I do not think you are a spectacular quarterback is the way that I am viewing this. Top 10 worst quarterbacks in the league. Let's just get into it with number 10. That is already, behind the scenes thing. They always say don't start off your top 10 list. I don't know who they is, but I've just heard people say that you shouldn't start off your top 10 list with like a hot take because that gets people to click off right away. Well, sorry, Giants fans, here it is. Daniel Jones is at number 10 as the 10th worst starting quarterback on this list. And again, I posted my whole, check out the podcast if you want to see me go more in depth on literally, all of the quarterback rankings and where I have, everyone and why I have 22 players above him. But, listen. There's things I like about Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is probably the one quarterback on this list I'm not mad at keeping as your starting quarterback. I guess there's a couple. That's not true. There's a few I'm not mad at being the starting quarterback. But as of right now for Daniel Jones, I just haven't seen enough consistency with him. I think that one of the things that really concerns me is, you look at his splits from when he's throwing under 10 yards down the field versus 10 yards or more down the field, and he's a guy who only has success throwing underneath. Now, is that because of him or is that because of the situation? We can't say for sure. And there's a good chance the situation is definitely a part of it. There's no denying that. But until I see him have success throwing the ball down the field, I can't, in good faith, put him as a top 22 quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. There's things I like about him. The way he was able to avoid pressure when Evan Neal was seemingly giving up a pressure every single play, and he was still able to find ways to get the ball out with poor receiving core. Very good stuff. We'll see how he develops. He could continue to develop, but in my opinion, he does have to get better, so he is number 10 on this list. Number 9, give me Jimmy G. So again, these quarterbacks, they're fine. Jimmy G's fine. He's not a bad quarterback. He's just not a great one either. Again, there's only so many, there's a lot of good quarterbacks is what I mean to say. There's a lot of teams that have good quarterbacks. There's only so many bad starting quarterbacks in the league, so Jimmy Garoppolo is not a bad quarterback. He's not a bottom-tier quarterback, but he's probably not a top-tier quarterback either, or even a mid-tier quarterback. Kind of like to separate guys into tier 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. He feels like a tier 4 quarterback. That's where he's been. Was good last year. Had a better year last year than we've seen him have in previous years, but how much of it is getting propped up by the Shanahan offense and all that? Solid quarterback, but he is number 9 on my list. Number 8, give me McCorkle. Mac Jones here is number 8, which, listen, there's a very real chance he's off this list next year, for sure. There's a very real chance he's off this list next year. Again, Geno Smith made my top 10 quarterback list this year, and I had him he was my number 32 quarterback ranked last year. So obviously, things can change. But Mac Jones was bad last year. There's no getting around it. He lost his job at one point for half a game, but he still lost his job. Bailey Zappi was the starter in the Chicago game. Then it completely went off the rails. Mac Jones got the job back, and he's, kept it since. But still, he was not good. The reason why I'm willing to kind of, hold off a little bit is it was Matt Patricia who was calling the plays. Because of that, I'm willing to say, let's give it another year. And he was really good as a rookie, but he belongs on this list. He does. He's number 8. Number 7, Jacoby Brissett, who's, again, another guy who you could argue, listen, Brissett was good last year. Brissett was better, I would say, than the other 3 players that I've already mentioned on this list. The reason why, and I should mention, I think this is obvious, but I'm going from, number 10 is the 10th worst, number 1 is the worst. But, the reason why I have him a little bit lower is, again, was kind of in a small sample size, and I feel like I've seen higher highs from the other 3 guys than I have from Brissett, and I haven't seen Brissett just do it in a big sample size. That's really the main thing there, but hey, there is some potential here. Number 6, I am going Taylor Heinicke of Atlanta. Now, is it him? Is it Desmond Ridder? We'll see who wins the job and what happens there. I think it's probably leaning towards Ridder now, but that's not the way I make this video. I'm not doing it saying who I'm predicting will be the starter. I'm doing it saying who I would say is the better player right now, and I think Heinicke is better than Ridder right now, but I still don't think he's great. I think Heinicke's shown some flashes. I know it didn't go great in Washington last year, but again, the average Taylor Heinicke year, and that's kind of what I look towards is I try to make sure I don't just look at like how were you the last time we saw you, but how have you been over your career. I think he's shown flashes of being like a, maybe even a mid-tier caliber quarterback at times. Not a ton though, which is again why he's on this list. Number 5, Baker Mayfield, another guy who I definitely think you could, pretty much in the same boat as Taylor Heinicke. You could probably talk me into swapping Heinicke and Mayfield if you wanted to. Mayfield was a disaster in Carolina last year. Did actually do some nice things with the Rams, so there is maybe some hope there. And we have seen him be a legitimate good quarterback, like just a straight up good quarterback. In 2020, he was like a, top half of the league starting quarterback. There's a ton of value there. In his rookie season, he was, had a very good rookie year. So there has been the flashes, and that's why I don't have him, that's why I have him above the top 4 players, which you will notice a trend with the top 4 players. But for me, for Baker, again, I still just haven't seen him consistently enough be a good enough quarterback for me to feel comfortable about putting him anywhere other than top 5 on this list. Number 4, I am going to go Bryce Young here. And again, you're going to see some young quarterbacks on this list, no pun intended, with his name being Young. You're going to see some younger quarterbacks at the top of this list. In fact, they're all younger quarterbacks. Spoiler alert. The reality is, it just takes time for quarterbacks to tend to get the hang of things at the next level. That's usually how it goes. There are exceptions. Young could be an exception. I think he is someone who could be very NFL ready, but, sometimes guys who are NFL ready, it still takes them time to become a good, just straight up quarterback. There's a difference between a good rookie season and a good season for a reason. And so I'm not saying that I don't think Young will have a good career. I do think he'll have a good career, but I think it'll take time. So that's why he's number 4. Number 3, I have CJ Stroud. Again, very similar to Bryce Young in the idea that I think that, he's young. But I think Stroud is a bit more raw than Young. I think Young's processing will be better. And I had Stroud as a better player than Young. I said Stroud was my number 1 prospect of the draft. But I think that Young will be better year 1. I just think Stroud has the potential to be better, year 3 and 4, which is why I went with him. Number 2, I have Jordan Love. Yes, I have Jordan Love here. Some people are buying into the Jordan Love hype. My podcast co-host Kyle is buying into the Jordan Love hype a little bit. I want to see it. I don't know. I've always felt like, listen, Jordan Love has shown flashes, but that's never been the question with Jordan Love. Coming out of college, the question was not, can he show flashes of being really good. He can. We've seen that in college. We've seen him show the flashes, but there's the issues as well. There's the turnovers, there's the missed throws. Those are just concerns I have. And as of right now, he's basically a rookie. I know he's been in the league for a few years now and won't get the benefit of a rookie contract, which is tough, and part of why it doesn't make sense to draft a quarterback when you already have one is because you lose some years of the rookie contract. But at the same time, he does have this year, and we'll see what he's able to do. And should be a bit more NFL ready than Stroud, Young, and number 1 on this list because of that. But still, it just takes time. It takes time to play well. Finally, number 1, Anthony Richardson. Listen, I'm not saying Richardson won't have a good career. I said if I was drafting, he'd be the 3rd player I drafted. He wasn't number 3 on my board necessarily, but given the importance of quarterback, I guess what I should say is if you need a quarterback and you're drafting number 3 overall, draft Anthony Richardson is how I would have felt. But he's so raw, and the accuracy was a real issue. I don't think he's quite as bad at making reads as some people make him out to be, but still, very raw as a player. I think he'll take some time. Like him a lot as a player, but not so much year 1 is how I view it. But hey, maybe the one thing I will say though is I could see his running ability actually making him a lot better than 1, and maybe if he is able to move around well, could he potentially be better than the worst starting quarterback in football? Absolutely. The odds are, if you tell me, do you think any specific player will be the worst starting quarterback in football next year? I'm going to say no, because the odds are, you're going to be at least better than somebody. But at the end of the day, you have to predict somebody if you're making a top 10 list of worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL. So he is my pick. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.